Whether it's improved handling, a lower stance, or additional adjustability you're after for your 2011 to 2023 rear-wheel drive Charger, the MonoSS Coil-Over Kit brings you everything you're after for one of the best prices in the category. This kit can make your car a stunner at the next meet, the subject of some killer rolling shots, and a willing companion for your next track day without you having to blow out your whole budget. The biggest thing to talk about with this kit is the adjustability. Not only do these feature adjustable ride height, but they also feature adjustable damping. You've got 16-way adjustable damping, which you can change by twisting the knob right here at the top of each shock, making this an easy change to make on the fly. You can also adjust the spring preload and the ride height with the included wrenches, though you likely won't need to once you've got things dialed in the way you like it. These will allow you to drop your car both front and rear about a couple of inches, so you can adjust this to get it to sit exactly the way you want it. And I don't know, if you're out in the winter time and you get a lot of potholes where you live, like we do in Pennsylvania, you can crank up the ride height pretty easily, again using the included wrenches. Now, lowering the ride height also is going to help improve handling by way of physically moving the center of gravity a little bit closer to the pavement. And of course, you can also just dial up the dampers if you need it to be a little more stiff if you're going to a track day or carving up your favorite mountain road. Now, the springs are also worth noting. These are going to be stiffer than your stock springs, and they're also going to help give you that improved handling and complement the lower ride height. The fronts are 672 pounds per inch, with the rears being 784 pounds per inch. So again, these are going to be quite a bit stiffer than your factory setup, but you can always adjust the damping down if you want that more compliant ride out on the street. And that is the beauty of this setup. You get tons of adjustability for a great price. Now, it is also worth noting that the shocks are monotube, hence the name MonoSS. So these are inherently also going to be a little bit more stiff than your stock twin tube shocks. So just expect that going in. You are going to see improved handling and a nicer stance, but it is going to cost you a little bit in the ride quality department. That's not to say it's going to ruin the ride though. Again, you've got that adjustable damping here, so if you really want to dial it back and have a nice comfortable commute, you can just dial these to their softest setting, and these will be more than compliant enough for your day-to-day usage. The bodies of the shocks are 52 millimeters in diameter, and they're made from carbon steel that has been anodized for additional protection. You also get lightweight aluminum upper mounts with forged aluminum and carbon steel brackets inside, and you're also going to find race spec shock oil inside of the dampers as well. That's going to provide you consistent performance at any temperature. Both front and rear, you will find a chromed hardened piston rod, and up top in the front on the included top hats, you'll find Koyo 6204Z bearings and pillow ball mounts. Plus, you've got polyurethane bushings on the lower mounts of the rear shocks too, for a little bit of extra stiffness. The springs are made from cold wound SAE 9252 steel. You've got that nice white powder coat over top for additional protection. And as you can see, the shocks and the spring mounts here come finished in what is very close to Mopar Panther Pink. And though it's not exact, it is a fun little update to see, even though you probably won't see much of this once it's on the car. Pricing comes in at about $1,100, and that makes this one of the most affordable coilover kits on the market. And with all the adjustability that's built in here, that is a pretty darned good price. And while these don't give you all of the fancy features of some of the more expensive coilovers, the foundation is all there. You've got good damping, solid construction, and plenty of adjustability. These should give you all the look and performance that you want, and they're going to come in at a comparatively low price. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you about 4 hours to complete. While everything is designed to bolt right in place of your stock pieces with no additional modifications necessary, there is quite a bit of stuff to do, and you're also going to need to make sure you set aside some time to adjust everything to suit your preference. So just figure on it taking a little bit longer than you might expect. And even if you've never messed with suspension components or coilovers before, this is a job that you can absolutely tackle at home. And we're going to show you exactly what you need to do right now, so let's head out to the shop and we'll walk you through it step by step.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, tape measure, a hammer, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter wrenches, an extension, 13, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter sockets, 15, 16, and 18 millimeter swivel sockets, and a pry bar. What's up guys? Today we're installing a coilover kit on our Charger. First we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory struts, shocks, and springs, and I'll meet you back here for the install.
First thing we're going to do is loosen this upper control arm nut first. Not fully remove it, just loosen it so that we can break it loose. And we're going to be using our 18 millimeter socket and our impact gun. Now that we've got it loose, what we'll do is we'll hit this with a hammer just to break the control arm free from the steering knuckle. Now just be careful not to hit this rubber boot because you don't want to damage it and cause any grease leaks. Now we'll remove our sway bar link nut here using our 21mm socket. Now you may run into a situation like what we have here, where you try to take off that sway bar link nut and the whole thing just spins. If that happens, you can just use a 21mm or a 13/16mm wrench and a 10mm socket and separate the two that way. Now we'll remove our lower strut mount bolt using our 18mm socket. Now we'll remove the upper strut cover cap and two of the 13mm nuts, and we'll loosen the third one. Now we can go ahead and remove our upper ball joint nut and then our last remaining strut bolt at the top. Now you can let this hang a little bit, but not too much because of the brake hoses up here. And then we remove that upper nut. Now I like to put this back on just to keep it from flopping around and causing any damage while we're taking care of the rest of it. Now you want to repeat this process for the other side. Now for the rear, first thing we're going to do is remove the two upper shock bolts using our 16mm socket. Now we'll remove the lower shock bolt using a 15mm socket and an 18mm wrench. Now the next thing is there's a couple of exhaust hangers back here and right here that we need to take out so that we can gain access to our lower control arm bolt. We're going to use our 13mm socket to remove those hangers. Now at this point, since we're up on a lift, we're going to be using a pull jack to support our lower control arm here and make sure that we keep tension on that coil spring, because it is dangerous when you try to remove these and it may pop out on you. If you're doing this at home, you can do this with the floor jack as long as the vehicle is properly supported. Now you want to make sure that you put some tension on this lower control arm using this pocket as your stabilizing point. Now we can go ahead and remove the bolt using our 15mm socket and our 18mm wrench. Now you can carefully lower the control arm to release the tension on the spring, and then we can remove the spring and the shock. Now you can repeat that process for the other side.
So now with our factory components removed, I've got my tape measure out, I've got all my components side by side, and we're going to take our measurements, make our adjustments that we need before we throw these on the car. Now for the spring, I'm going to take about 2 inches off, and then for my strut and my shock, I'm going to do about 1.5 inches off of each of those. So I'm going to start on my shocks. I'll take my tape measure, I'm going to hook it on the top of the top hat, and then I'm gonna measure until I'm centered in that bushing. I'll do the same thing on my stock one, take 2.5 inches off, and then we can tighten down our lock collar. So now I'm gonna get my initial measurement off of my factory shock, and we're right about at 25.5 inches. So I'm gonna adjust this new shock to 24 inches, and right now we're sitting at 22. So we're gonna break this collar free, and then we're gonna twist this bottom one to the left, until we've lengthened this by 2 inches. So now we're about at 23.5, so we're gonna keep going. And that's 24 right there. So now I'm gonna spin my lock collar down. And I just wanna make sure that my 2 bolt holes are in line with my bushing at the bottom. I'm gonna snug that up as much as I can by hand. Double check my measurement. And then take your spanner wrench, hook it into one of the grooves there, snug that up, and then we can move on to our strut. So I'm gonna take my initial measurement on my factory one, I'm hooking it on the top of the top hat, and then I'm measuring the halfway point of our bottom bolt hole. We've got about 26 3/4, which means we're gonna be going down to 25 1/4 on our new one. And we're at about 22.5, so we've got a lot of threading to do. So turn this to the left again, just like the shock. Now right about 25 1/4 right there. So spin your lock collar down. Now at the top we have a 2 bolt side and a 1 bolt side. We want the 1 bolt pointed away from our sway bar end link mount. So just get that straightened out, tighten down your lock collar by hand. Double check that measurement. And then take your spanner wrench and snug that down. So now finally, we'll adjust our springs. Now for these, I'm taking 2 inches off of the factory. One important thing to note is that you want to make sure that you're measuring with our adjustment here. So once again, base measurement, I'm gonna go tip to tip. I've got about 13 3/4. So I'm gonna go for 11 3/4 here. I've got about 10.5. So I'm gonna pop this off. I'm gonna twist the larger collar up. I'm gonna recheck, make sure your spring's up flat against you. And we've got about 11 there. So I need about another 1/4 inch. So now I've got about 11 1/4. So now I'm gonna take the smaller collar, that's our lock collar, and put that up against our larger collar. Now I'm gonna take my bigger spanner wrench on the bigger collar, smaller one on the smaller, turn them opposite directions to lock this down. And now you can just do the same exact thing for your 3 components on the other side, and we'll get these on the charger. So now we can install our new coilover. I'm gonna get my studs through the top mount first. I'll thread my nuts on, and then we'll just line this up with the bottom mount. Now come up top and thread on your nuts. Now we do have new nuts included in this kit, but they are quite a bit smaller. They don't have as much surface area here to grab onto the metal. So I'm just gonna be reusing our factory ones. It's the same thread pitch and diameter. That's just gonna give us more surface area to clamp down to. I'm just gonna get them all thread on hand tight for now while I work my coilover into my bottom mount. So now I've got a pole jack underneath my knuckle. I'm just gonna raise up on my knuckle until my strut lines up with my bushing. And then reinstall your factory bolt. Now on our factory strut, we had a nut welded onto the other side. On this one we don't, so we have a nut that we're gonna be threading on to that bolt. Now grab an 18mm socket and a 21mm wrench and tighten that bolt down. Next I'm gonna reinstall my sway bar end link. Thread that nut back on the other side. And then grab a 21mm socket and tighten that down. Now my ball joint is spinning here, so I'm gonna take a pry bar and push up against my end link, and then we'll give it another try. Now we can reconnect our upper control arm ball joint, reinstall our nut, and then tighten that down with an 18mm swivel socket. Now we'll come back up top and take a 13mm socket to tighten down your nuts. And then with this knob in the middle, you can adjust your dampening. So I usually like to put it right in the middle. So we have 16 different settings. So I'm just gonna go back 8. Just get that right in the middle. You can adjust that very easily. And then I'm gonna reinstall that cap. Then you can repeat that process on the other side. So now with everything removed from the rear, I'm gonna remove our upper spring isolator because we won't be reusing that. The lower one can stay because we will be using the bottom one. So just reach in there and grab it and start pulling it down. So now we're ready to get our shock bolted into our upper mount. Now I would adjust your dampening before you put this in. It's not that difficult to get to. You just go through the trunk, but we'll just get it set up now so we don't have to do that. So there's 16 clicks here. So I'm gonna put it at 8 right in the middle, and then you can adjust from there. So then I'm just gonna pull that lower cradle out of the way. Slide my shock in. And then get it into my cradle. And then I'm just gonna take my 2 bolts and just thread them in by hand for now. We want a little bit of maneuverability at the bottom of our shock, so I'm not gonna fully tighten it down yet. So now we're ready to install our spring. Now make sure that you have the rubber isolator on the top here. The bottom of your spring is going to twist into that lower isolator. So just put it in, twist it to the right until it stops, and you'll be good to go. I've got a pole jack underneath our cradle, so I can raise this up once I get this in place. So then turn my spring until it stops. And then I'm just going to start raising up on my pole jack and get my upper spring mount aligned. My isolator is getting pinched a little bit, so I went back down. And now we'll just go up and just keep a closer eye on it while aligning it. And now it's sliding on there nicely. Align the cradle around that bushing so it doesn't get caught while it's going up. So now we're gonna get our bolt hole aligned. I've got to go up a little bit higher, and then this whole thing has to go out. So once I get it aligned up and down, I'm gonna take a pry bar in here. That might actually be good to go right there. We're gonna take a hammer to tap that through, and then we're gonna have to line up the other side as well. And then I'm gonna lower my pole jack to line up my other side so I can tap it the rest of the way through. So I'm gonna throw my bolt on my nut on the other side of the bolt. And then I'll get my lower shock bolt, slide that through, put the nut on the other side. And then we're gonna take a 15 millimeter swivel socket and an 18 millimeter wrench to tighten down both of these bolts. I'm going over the exhaust on that inner one. Now take a 16 millimeter swivel socket, go back up and tighten down your 2 upper shock bolts. And then you can repeat that process on the other side. So now we just need to bolt up our isolators up back onto the body. So grab your bolt with a 13 millimeter socket and put it through the hanger. Lift up on your exhaust and then thread it into that hole. And then lift up on your muffler and tighten it down. And now we'll get the one that is right next to our tip. And once again, 13 millimeter socket to tighten it down. Repeat on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the MonoSS Coil-Over Kit for your 2011 to 23 rear-wheel drive Charger. Thanks for watching, and for all things Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.